This is one of those videos that I have actually had like on the docket for weeks. I've been thinking about making it for weeks, but it wasn't until this last Samsung Galaxy Unpacked event that I truly decided the time is now. I have to make this video. The reason is during that Galaxy Unpacked video, and this has not just been that video, it's anytime in my own videos or at any other announcement, when someone comes out on stage and they say, this feature was powered by AI, I get so many comments from people saying, the AI is useless. Nobody wants this stuff. Stop pushing it. It's not going anywhere, etc., etc. And that is like typically what the comment is. It's not, I don't find these AI tools useful, or I have moral objections to generative AI. Sometimes I'll get those comments, but by and large, the comments read something like, no one wants this, these things are useless. And I just absolutely disagree with that. And I'm going to kind of give you some reasons why. So the first thing I want to say is that when we see these comments, or when we say these AI apps, these AI features are garbage or they're useless, we're using a garbage can term. What I mean by that is AI apps, that covers a lot of ground. That could mean so many different things, right? So it could mean Google Gemini, which is something that I use all the time, and that's actually going to be the focus of this video. It could be Pixel Studio, which can generate images on the fly, and I mean, I think that's a pretty good one. It could be the weather summary inside the Pixel Weather application. It could be that handy little proofread button in your keyboard that will correct all of your grammatical, your punctuation errors at the push of a button. It could be in something like Magic Editor that lets you fix your misframed shot. Took this picture and the tip of her ear was cut off. So you know what I did? I used Magic Editor to zoom the photo out and reframe it. Of course, all of these things and way more are using AI, and even basic things like your camera application. When you take a photo on a modern smartphone and it takes a whole bunch of frames and it stacks them and it runs them through a pipeline, that is using artificial intelligence to make your photos look better pretty much instantly. Do you use speech to text on your phone as often as I do? Well, as you can see here, that's using complex algorithms and machine learning models to convert spoken language into written text. That is a form of artificial intelligence. And guys, I could go on and on and on talking about forms of AI on your phone that are more obvious, more overt, and forms that are more covert that we have already just sort of accepted and we don't even think about them anymore. But my point is, it is all over the place. And if you just blanket statement say it's all garbage, that is instantly just a preposterously absurd statement to make. But now what I want to do is I want to dig into Gemini, and I want to show you just a handful of ways I've used Gemini in the last couple of weeks that have been insanely useful to me. So obviously I cover tech news stories on this channel a lot. And typically what this means is I'm over here on Feedly where I have plugged in a whole bunch of different sources. And I'll see a story that I want to talk about and I go there and I think, yeah, this could be a cool video for me to dive into. But what I don't want to do is just read someone else's article and have their thoughts and opinions basically infect my thoughts and opinions. I want to get the raw basic facts to work off of so that it's my opinion, it's my work. I'm not just regurgitating what someone else said to you, because what's the point of that? So the easiest way to do this, whether you're on your phone or you're on your computer, is to grab that URL and then jump over to Gemini and say, summarize this page, and hit enter. And it's going to read this web page and it's going to give some details. Now, obviously, this article is not a great example simply because it is a very, very basic article. All it really is saying is Gemini looks smaller now. Let's grab something that's got a bit more detail. We're going to grab this blog post on Google's blog. And in natural language, I'm going to say, now do this one, and it should grab this. And this will give you probably a better example because it's got a whole lot more going on. There you go. It actually put them both in here. So summary of the second web page is what we're looking at here, giving more detail on that second page. And it's going to start running through these and giving me details, and they should be pretty much devoid of any sort of editorializing. And that is a really good place for me to then work off of. So you may have noticed that in my videos, I will occasionally have little tables that have sort of specifications of phones and things like that. This is how I make these most of the time. So I'm here on GSM Arena for the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, and I've taken a quick screenshot of this page with the snipping tool. Now over here on Gemini, I'm going to paste. I'm going to say generate a table with this data, but ignore network and launch. And it's going to look at this picture. It's going to extract the text, and it's going to create a table with this information. So of course, there are other ways to do this. On GSM Arena, it's kind of already in a table, so you could say like, how useful is that? But it's not always like that, right? Sometimes it's just like a leak, and it's a whole bunch of strings of text, and you can copy and paste them, you can screenshot, whatever you want to do. But it can generate that table really, really quickly. And if you see something about that table that you don't like let's say you're like, I don't really care about this memory section, you can come down here and you can say remove the memory section, and it's going to recreate it again without that section in there. Let's say there's just an error somewhere. Just tell it what to correct, and it's going to correct it for you. And there you go. You have a nice, neatly organized table, and you can have it do whatever you want. But let's get more complicated, all right? Let's get like much more complicated stuff that it really blows my mind that I'm able to do this. So I've got a website right now that is called ShaneCraig.tech. And as you can see here, this is sort of the back end of this website. It's actually made through Squarespace, which I think if you're looking at it is fairly obvious, but there are a few things that are not built into Squarespace. Squarespace is great if you want to build a website like kind of just in a basic quick deployment. But if you want to do something that isn't built into Squarespace, you have to just sort of do it yourself. And that's what I've had to do with a few things. So if I go back to this, at the top of my website, this latest news section, what this is doing is it's grabbing the RSS feed for my posts, and it's grabbing the thumbnail and the headline, and it's placing 3 of them at the top of the screen, so that if I make a new post, it's going to make it nice and big up here and highlight it at the top. So in order to do that, I had to have some HTML code to do exactly that. Now, I am not an HTML expert, right? So I was trying my best. I was trying to remember how to do this, and I got it pretty close, but there were some issues. Like my thumbnails weren't clickable, and they were like sticking off the screen. They weren't lined up correctly, and I was running into some problems. So you know what I did? I copied my code. I pasted it into Gemini, and I said, can you help me make these thumbnails clickable, and can you help me make them all line up correctly and all the images be sort of the correct size, make them all be uniform in size? And in about 4 seconds, I had a fully functional code. I pasted it in, and everything works perfectly fine now. That's what Gemini was able to do for me on this website. I also had this weird problem way down here at the bottom of the website where there was this little like square that was just there, and I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it. I actually Googled, and a bunch of people were asking, my Squarespace blog has this weird square sitting there. How do I get rid of it? All sorts of mixed answers. So I came down here and I inspected the element, and of course it's gone, so I can't show you, but I found sort of its ID. And then I took a screenshot of this with it highlighted, and I sent that to Gemini, and I said, write me a bit of code that will get rid of that, and it spit it out, and I pasted it in. Let me give you one more, and it's going to be kind of hard to like quickly, succinctly explain to you. But right now, you're looking at my Pixel 9 Pro Fold screen. I'm actually controlling it with my computer, and here is the phone itself, and it is all being done wirelessly. Now, what I'm using to do this is an application called Screen Copy. Typically, when you run Screen Copy, which here is the executable that runs it, you have to be plugged in over USB. Once you've done that, though, you can actually open up this link here, open a terminal here, and you can type in a command. I think it's screen copy TCP/IP. It's something like that, and that will switch it over to wireless, and you can then unplug your phone. I wanted to make this easier. I wanted to have a shortcut to screen copy and then a shortcut to the wireless command all right there. So I can plug in my phone, click this, then click this, unplug it, and I'm going wireless. And I was having a hard time getting this shortcut in my start menu. I created a bat file, which you can see here, runs that exact command. And then I created a shortcut to it, which is that one, and that works. But I couldn't get it to be in my start menu. So guess what I did? I asked Gemini, why can't I put a shortcut to a .bat file in my start menu? And it answered me. And it explained it. And this is the solution to that problem. And now it is in my start menu working just fine. I could go on and on and on for like days about little examples like this. Places where I have used Gemini to look at the ingredients on the back of cough medicine and said, which one of these is making me feel jittery and weird? And it would be like, oh, this is probably Mucinex from these ingredients. And because of that, this cough suppressant is known to cause these problems. Here's an alternative medication that would have a similar effect that might not make you feel jittery. Again, on and on and on with these examples of how Gemini is useful to me every single day. Here's the reality, guys. In 2025, we are well past the time, the era, where year over year our phones were making these radical improvements. This is like pretty darn mature tech at this point. The new is going to be in the software. And right now, that is going to be in the form of applications that use some form of machine learning, AI, whatever you want to call it. If you want to say, if it uses AI, it's bad and I don't want it, you are going to be rejecting the only new thing you're really going to be getting. That is just the reality. And I'm sorry to tell you, you're going to be in that vocal minority. Look at phones like the Pixel 8 and 9. Look at phones like the Galaxy S24 series. I suspect probably the 25 series as well, but we just won't know till sales numbers have had time to kind of percolate up. But these are phones that aren't making big hardware changes. They're leaning heavily into the AI stuff. And guess what? They're outselling their last gen line year over year by doing that. Other people are seeing what I am saying. They're understanding. They're like, man, this stuff is actually really useful. So for those of you in my comment section who I see you, I read the comments. I see it every single day who say things like, all this AI stuff is garbage. I'm tired of hearing about it. I've just got bad news for you. You're not going to stop hearing about it. And if you tell me that it's all useless, I'm just going to point you back towards this video because in my humble opinion, in my life and in my experience, you are just flatly, patently, blatantly wrong. As always, guys, I expect to see plenty of you in the comments down below, and I'm sure it will be a very passionate and opinionated discussion, and that is absolutely fine. Subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.